we receive an inquiry online for someone that wants to spend around $300 million for a boat. You know, it was a $60 million sales. That was our first sales.
Amazing. Yeah.
You know, that gave us the fuel to build the companies, hire a little bit of people. He requested to the charter agent and to the owner, famous DJ David Guetta, to perform on the boat. Every single mega yacht sale is happening in international water, in the middle of the sea. We've been asked many times to have a TV show about us and our office, our operation. The challenge is exactly that. We can't disclose as much. We didn't have any money back then. We didn't make any money for many years, and still we did it, but we just had fun.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. You know, if you do business with someone like a friend of yours, this partner of mine is my best friend for life. We just had fun.
We're here with Tommy Chiabra, CEO and founder of Royal Yacht International, and also the founder of Mangusta Capital, venture capital, private equity investor. You are a global entrepreneur, international investor. You're based in Monaco, but you grew up in Italy. How did you get into being an entrepreneur? Was that something that you were doing from an early age?
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up in Genova, which is very charismatic but small town in Italy.
Okay.
And immediately after my studies, I decided to go to Milan. I needed a little bit of more of an international playground. I went to do my university there, and immediately from university time, I wanted to do some work, expand my horizons, and I did start work immediately from when I was in Milan. And really, what my attitude always been capturing any opportunity that was around me, just exploring as much as I could, and again, that was my first beginning, and then all the rest is a moving part of the history. Yeah.
Amazing. So you have this personality where you wanted more, move outside your city. You went to Milan. How did you get into the yacht business? This is super interesting. You're selling some of the largest yachts on the planet, working with the wealthiest people on planet Earth. How did you initially get into this business?
It's very funny how I actually came about that, because I'm from Genoa, which is a city on the water. A lot of yachts go there for refits and etc. And actually got into yachting from Milan. So why in Milan? Because during university, I wanted to work. I couldn't just study books and give exams. So I was hyperactive. I've always been very hyperactive. And I built an event company, because you study during the day. So the only thing you could do, you do events, entertainment. And I ended up doing events in Monaco during the Formula 1, and these events on boats, because Formula 1, every team, every brands, they rent a yacht and do their hospitality on board of the yachts. There, on board of the yachts, I realized that there was a business to be made on the supply business, the food and beverage and the galley supplies of yachts. So the first company, when I was 19 years old, was to supply the yachts with food and beverage. It was called Royal Yacht Supplies. Okay. Once we started that, then my partner and I, we start get demand from friends or from our network. What's the best yacht? What can I charter? You might have good deals. Yeah. You might not. What should I buy? And as a yacht connoisseur, if we were, we start trading, and being brokering and intermediary into charters and sales. And then we really realized that where we thought the margin were in the food and beverage, the real margin were in the brokerage side. Yeah. And then so we sold actually to them for the food and beverage business after 2 years. At the time, then we finished university. We had all day available, and we could build a real company. And that's where we moved to Monaco. We built Royal Yacht International. And the reality was that, before we were just my partner and I doing deals, and then we understood that the real play was to build the architectural behind the brokering, and that's what we really focused on building the operation. And this was 2007, 2008. It was during the biggest financial crisis. Yeah. We got in a moment where nobody will spend, or if they spend, they will want crazy deals. And you could actually get deals. You could buy a discount. You could charter a discount. That was a very particular time in the business. Yep. And yet, so we had to build our strength in a moment of crisis. And that was the really the best beginning for a company, because if you start during crisis, all the rest, then it's going to come easier. But in reality, our assumption was that being an intermediary, being in the middle of a deal, it's just about selling an information. Now, historically, the access to information was expensive or limited.
Yep.
But this is the old school of doing business. So you are there because you have access to information. What we always believed is that the access to information is going to come available to everybody with technology, and that's what happened the past 20 years. So the way you treat and you work the information is the real leverage. So we build our operation in the absolute perfection on delivering the information, collecting the information, and treat and broker the information. So that's how we build the operation and the architecture behind Royal Yacht International. And that's why we were able to build such a big company in such a fast time.
You hit on something that I want to pull out for entrepreneurs, is that you went to Monaco during F1 and you saw this opportunity. You didn't think about it too hard. You guys jumped in and you said, let's just make it happen. Like, you know, we don't have a company today. We see a gap in the marketplace and we want to fill it, and we see a business opportunity. And the best entrepreneurs, they're moving fast. They have conviction. They do a study. They see that there's a problem to solve. And that's what you guys did. And it's turned out really well, and you've built from there. Yeah. So that was 07, 08. You sold the initial business, the supplies, food, beverage company. Okay, so then you start Royal Yacht International, brokerage. How and what were some of the first yachts that you sold? How did you get those clients? Where were they from? What kind of yachts were they?
Yeah, so you make a very good point. And I see that a lot of people, when they fail, is because they fell in love with the idea or what they begin with or what they got excited for, and they want to pursue that idea at any cost, right? So pivoting and looking around you 360 degrees full time is very, very important. A lot of successful entrepreneurs did that. If you see the best case studies of anyone that built a unicorn company or any decent business, they probably didn't start with that very idea. They change trajectory and they change direction during the time, because time change, operation challenges are presented, and then you need to be able to grab the other opportunity or just utilize what you built for other purposes and other opportunity. That's exactly what happened in our case in the yachting. Started somewhere and end up somewhere else. Now, we were fortunate enough to have a clientele at the point, and we were fortunate enough to broker our first deals. We sold our first boat was a 90-meter fetch ship. That's about 320 feet. Fetch ship. It was a $60 million sales. That was our first sales.
Amazing. Yeah.
That gave us the fuel to build the companies, hire a little bit of people, and then from there we built a charter business. The charter business, it's a very, very, very liquid business because it's imaging us a very high-end travel agent business. The same way that you choose your hotel room when you go for holiday, these people choose their yacht literally with 2 emails, and they spend $500,000 for a week, and there's a very high margin profitability in there. So we built a very, very profitable charter business. No one was doing B2B in the charter business. So we built infrastructure that through technology that will provide to white label to travel operators, concierge services, credit cards like American Express is our partners. So we were the first to leverage technology and build a B2B business into the charter and travel agency world. So that was a big leverage, and that gives us access to a lot of good clientele. And when you have good access to good clientele and you sit in the big tables, then there is where you can create the opportunities, sell the big boats, build the big boats, represent the big boats for sales. And that was, our early days, and that's how we built then the follow-up infrastructure.
Tommy, that's an incredible story. You're working with wealthy people from all over the world. You built out the infrastructure. Where do your clients come from? How do they differ when they come from different parts of the world? We know there's a period where Russians were buying a lot of mega yachts, the Middle East, some Asians. America is a big market for super yachts. What do different cultures look for when they're buying yachts from you?
Yeah. So you say something very right. Yachts is cultural.
Yeah.
Historically, European appreciate the sun, the cruising, the sailing, the experience, the Mediterranean. So it was a very European culture. And America, also very big market, being such a proximity to the water, to Caribbean, Bahamas, and etc. Russian, they got there eventually. They were not really a big yachting culture when we started. It was, Russians were never a big lovers of the seas, of the sun, and same of Asians. But what happened is that as wealth grew in those countries, the culture of yachting grew within itself. So Russia was a big market.
Yeah.
It is a big market.
Yeah.
One of the biggest yacht owners are Russians or East European, and one of the biggest owners of yachts today are Asians.
Asian.
So it is cultural, and of course it's a culture that moved with wealth. So American have been making great wealth and great money in the past few years, in the past decades, and that's why I think for sites and ownership, they are number one today.
America is number one.
America is number one.
Is it tech? Is it CEOs, founders of companies?
You'll be surprised.
Many different businesses.
You'll be surprised. There's the very famous tech entrepreneur that has a public company, or there is the Mr. Smith that nobody ever heard about, but is worth 20 billion. Very low key.
Yeah.
Probably they do a business that is not very glamorous or not very public, but makes so much great returns that they can afford huge humongous yachts. So that's also the case. Or you have even the celebrity that did very well.
Hey guys, my firm Prosper Group is a Miami-based real estate development firm focused on ultra luxury waterfront and prime properties here in South Florida. We source off-market real estate, and we handle everything from acquisition, design, through construction and sales. If you are an accredited investor and you want to learn more about how we work and how to invest with us, go to prospergroup.com/invest and book a discovery call. What's the process of, we're in the real estate business, so we're selling ultra high-end luxury waterfront real estate here in Miami, and we're selling before it's built, and so pre-sales. And to these buyers, to these clients. What's the process for these billionaires or ultra wealthy? They're buying yachts. Do they know the brand that they want? Do they buy and build? Do they buy existing? What does that look like?
So the winners in the market and who really understand the yachting game, they build.
Yeah.
Because there is always an arbitrage from the moment you sign a contract and the moment the boat is delivered, where you're winning in price. You're winning, the economics are in your favor.
Wow.
So you always going to be in the position to sell that construction for profit.
So a new build.
New build.
Yeah.
New build is the way to do.
Okay.
But as you know, it comes with a lot of imagination and visions, because to build a decent sized boat, it takes 4 years time.
Yeah. Okay.
So it could be 3 years, could be 6 years. Everyone that ever went through that journey made money, at least with us in our experience. And the way it goes is, you want a yacht.
Yeah.
You come to us.
You want a $200 million yacht.
$200 million yacht. You come to us. We build the specification. How many gross tonnage. The square footage in yachting is gross tonnage.
Okay.
How many gross tonnage? What's the design? What's how many rooms? What is the amenities you need? Blah blah. We appoint a designer for you. So we choose a designer. Then we do a beauty contest between the builders. We see which builders is fit to build that exact construction, and we do a beauty contest. So that in that way, we get the best price per gross tonnage, which would be the price per square footage in your case. And we then build the contract with the builder. Now, the way you build the contract is the most essential part in our business.
The contracts.
Because a lot of people that build had a better experience because they were not advised correctly, or because they didn't build the correct contract correctly, or a combination of the two. The way you build the contract, you make sure that you don't have room for surprises, delays, extra cost, low allowances that then become double of the cost.
Yeah.
So once you build an incredible contract, then we have our engineers and naval architects in house, and then we will follow and survey the all steps of the project till delivery. If every step is done properly this way, the owner will get a perfect boat with no surprises, no extra costs, no extra times. And the day you get delivery, you can sell it for more money. So that's the real yachting game.
So 200 million. What's the deposit and what's the payment structure over that 4-year period?
Also that, you can negotiate that. Really, a shipyard, a builder will want the cash flow upon ordering materials.
Right.
So you don't need much deposit, the signature to block the slot. So they ideally want 10%. When usually negotiate that to 5%.
Yeah.
Then another 5% when you start to approve the general arrangement.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go on sale every 3 months, every trimester, or every quarter of around 10%. So when they need to order the material for the hull and then the material for the overstructure, and then when they start to fit the interior. So every step of the construction, when they need to order the materials, then we will need to deposit an installment.
And are these yacht owners, builders, buyers, are they financing or are they paying cash?
Both.
Okay.
There's a little bit of both. Absolutely.
Okay. And you were telling me an interesting story about a big yacht sale that happened and they hadn't visited the yacht.
That's the interesting story. Why I tell you is because I want you to understand the possibility that there is in this industry, and it's more for who follow the sale and how surprising the sales could be in this industry, because we're obviously dealing with a lot of extraordinary people, but very unique in their behavior. So the story goes that we receive an inquiry online for someone that wants to spend around $300 million for a boat.
Like they emailed you through the website.
They emailed through the website.
You got a lead through the website.
And LinkedIn. So we got double approach. Normally when that happens and someone wants to spend $300 million, they know someone personally. This is a very relation business based. We give to follow the lead to someone that was junior at the time, and the company just started maybe 6 months before. And the company, this is from the office of Monaco. This person is requested to travel to meet the client. We say, no problem. We spend all the travel, And after a few months, he comes back and say, they are very interested in this specific boat. And this was a 340 feet boat. 300 million euro approximately asking. Off market. We do a lot of off market, especially on this segment. It is completely off market. Nobody has this inventory.
Where was the boat based?
That was in Greece.
Okay.
And again, completely off market. The seller wanted
Quiet,
very quiet,
low
very
key.
quiet. We have a lot of 60% of our transactions are off market. That's our big leverage as well. So they're really interested in the boat. The broker comes to me and say, they're serious. I say, great. This is great news. We're gonna go do a good sales, and say, how many times did they visit it? Did they like the boat? Did they like the is Peter Marino interior? Did they like it? They never visited. I said, well, what do you mean they never visited? They never visit the boat. They never seen the boat. They never felt the boat. They never seen the ceiling guides. No.
Did a test run?
Did a parent, a family member, an assistant, someone from the office visited? No one ever stepped foot aboard. So, okay, good luck with that. Enjoy the process. You learn that there is a lot of BS in the business going through it. A few weeks later, comes back and say, we just received $30 million deposit. I say, what? For that boat? Okay, so they went to see it then. Say, no, they didn't see it. I gave zero chances that this deal is going to close. And they closed. They bought the boat. The client never been on a boat before getting the title of the boat, and then it went afterwards. The boat completely blind package, 300 million euro boat in a few months' time.
Wow.
And it literally, the junior broker that just started made around 1.2 million of commission just following an online lead.
What are the fees for brokering in residential real estate? It's, typically you're buying and selling a house, 3% on each side, 6%. New development, it's higher, maybe 5-6% to the outside agent, 3% inside. What's the standard? And I'm sure it differs on mega super yachts on these big transactions. How much can you guys make from putting together these huge deals?
Yeah, the bigger it is, and slimmer is the commission, of course. And it really depends, because in a lot of cases we represent the seller and the buyer same time. So we do in-house deals, especially if it's
best
if it's
kind of
off
deals.
market. Complicated because you have a conflict of interest. I actually like to appoint two people in within the company just to fight against each other because I want the best interest for both buyer and seller. So there is needs to be a little bit of friction.
Yep.
But listen, it varies. It could be anything from 4 to 7%, 3% to 5%. It really depends. Yes. So it depends. There is a MYBA standards, which is the Mediterranean Yacht Broker Association, which is 10% from 1 to 10 million, 5% from 10 to 20 million, and 2.5% anything above 30 million.
Okay.
Of course, accumulatives. So that's the standards.
And what are some of the top yacht maker companies globally? Where are they based? Are they Italian based? Are they other places in Europe, other parts of the world? Tell us about who those companies are.
Yeah. So the yachting industry is very interesting because there is limited supplies.
Okay.
And when I say limited supplies, it's not like watch that they just decide to make the limited amount or cars. There is limited facilities because you need to be in the proximity of the water. You need to have a infrastructure that is only in certain places it's possible. So now Italy as the number one infrastructures, and they're the number one in terms of quantity of sales every year.
Okay.
So the shipyards in Italy, which goes from Benetti, Baglietto, Italian Sea Group, which include Admiral. You might have seen the Armani design boat, which we sold, by the way. CRN, Riva, the Ferretti Group. So those groups are the number one in quantity of yachts sold per year since many years, not in use, since many years. Then the North European builders in Germany and Holland, those shipyards, which goes by Fedship, Lürsen, Oceanco, Nobis Group, those shipyards are the ones that build the big boats.
Okay.
The 300 feet plus boats, and they build with the highest quality. They're known to be, for a car comparisons, I don't know if you're a car connoisseur, but a Rolls-Royce is the Fedship and the Lürsen and the Oceanco, so the North European. The Ferrari and the Porsche are the Italian builders. Great quality, great, the best price per quality ratio. Then you have other builders that build a little less quality, a little cheaper. Turkey, Spain, US had some builders that did okay. They I don't think they were able to scale at the scale that the market is going because when I started, a 50-meter yacht was huge. Under 60 feet was a big yacht. Was if you had under 60 feet, you were a baller. When today under 60 feet, it's a chase boat. It's the one you put the guest or the staff for the big yacht.
Yes.
So the market is growing tremendously in size. The sizes of today I will never believe that we will be selling 400, 450 feet boats today. After just few couple of decades. Where that was the standard, was the under 60 feet. So I think that, back to your point, the American shipyards did very well, but they didn't scale up to that size and standards.
That's an important trend. So 10 years ago, there was roughly 1,800 billionaires in the world. Fast forward 10 years, there's over 3,000 billionaires in the world. And the proportion of their wealth that they control is growing every single year. And in the next 10 years, there'll be 6,000, 7,000 billionaires. So you're focused, Tommy, on the ultra high-end segment of the market, the wealthiest people on the planet. What does then the contract look like? Do you guys immediately call the lawyers and say, draft up a contract, put up a deposit?
Absolutely. So the standard protocol is, I like your boat, great. We do a contract subjected to survey, which is inspection. So we do a contract, we agree on the price, I pay a deposit on an escrow account, and then we send a full team of technical survey, which inspect the boat ins and outs. Both of that side takes 2 weeks to survey. We lift the boat, we check the hull, we do a sea trial, we test the boat in turns and all of that. And once the survey is satisfactory, then there is an acceptance. And then acceptance, you meet in international water, because every yacht sales usually happen in international waters, which is 12 miles out of the coastline.
Okay.
Which means that the sales didn't happen anywhere. It's in the middle of the ocean. There's a very important...
So there's a tax savings.
Tax savings. No one can claim that sales happen in their territory. And every single mega yacht sales, doesn't matter where, it happens in the middle of the ocean. And that's a 12-month site. So both lawyers goes in the yachts, they cruise full speed in the middle of the ocean, stop at 12 miles out, where the authority can see from GPS that the yacht has been in the middle of the ocean, and then close the transaction there. Money wires, and they pass the title to each other.
That is a really interesting insight that I don't think most people know, but legally avoiding taxes, these are the ultra wealthy. So 12 miles out, you have to go sign the contract, consummate the deal, wire the funds, and no taxes because it's an international one.
Exactly. But it's not about taxes, it's about liabilities, it's about flag. Don't forget, these yachts are flagged Cayman Island, Malta, all of that. So the flag state will be complicated to do a transaction of a property that is registered in Cayman, in France, for example, or in elsewhere, and with a buyer that maybe one is American and the other one is British. So to simplify the whole sales process, every single mega yacht sales happening in international water, in the middle of the sea.
Wow, that's a great insight. So you do $1.5 billion a year in sales. You represent really interesting people, celebrities, famous people, top people in the world. What are some of the other most interesting transactions you've worked on, yachts that you've sold, people that you can disclose?
That's a good challenge, because
most of them, I'm sure, under NDA.
We've been asked many times to have a TV show about us and our office, our operation. The challenge is exactly that. We can't disclose as much. You have no idea how many incredible yachts we built, and we cannot disclose a picture. Wow! And that's a big challenge for us in a marketing perspective. We do very large builds. Up to 600 million under construction on one single boat. We have over 2 billion of under construction overall. And in the whole company, which will be delivered from 2027 to 2031. And again, each one of these individuals, what I enjoy the most is that every single one of this construction, each one of these individuals that own this construction is just a genius. And you will see the genius in practice when you build the boat, when you build every single inch of the decision is just what is the most educating factor for an entrepreneur or for a businessman, because you learn so much. Not school, not study will give you as much as dealing with a very, very smart decision-making, structured leader that is doing a project with you.
And Tommy, what does Royal Yacht's team look like? Where do you have offices? Where are they located? We met through a good friend of mine, JC Weller. He's a Miami-based yacht broker. We filmed on Utopia. He has some great listings. What does the team look like globally? Where do you have your soldiers out here selling mega yachts?
So the army is been created from Monaco. So the headquarters is in Monaco. And I sit on the headquarters. So I'm the executive of the Monaco headquarters. We have around 40 people in Monaco based. That's the solid operation. That's the brain behind the deals. That's the back office, the desk, the intel, the insights, the deals, the off market. Every single piece moves from this very high intelligence operation, high technology, huge amount of artificial intelligence has been implemented. I think we are number one in terms of technology in the whole industry. And then we have the Miami operation, which is run by your good friend JC and Sherman, respectively from sales, JC and charter Sherman. Both industry leaders. JC, you met, and you have few videos from Utopia, so it doesn't need much introduction. But Sherman, she's industry leader. She's been in industry for over 30 years. She started Burgess US USA, which is an old school company from back in the days, and she decided to come with us to lead the US expansion. So they both manage the US operations. Meanwhile, the headquarters gives the tools and the infrastructure to operate. Then around the world, we have another, call it the 100 brokers, which represent their clients. Those are client introducers. Those are the people that face the clients, that they have portfolio clients and manage those families office, family accounts, and they rely on the infrastructure to then execute the deals.
Wow. So all over the world, very international business. Tommy, you're also an investor. So you founded an investment firm called Mangusta. Let's talk about your investments, how you got involved with that. Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we had this conversation earlier. I think that, people like to say how you're involved in so many industries. And I don't see it. The industry is a very old school mentality of seeing, fragment market. To me, it's all one ecosystem. It's all one industry. It's all one group, one philosophy, one network. It's the way I seen it is I know a lot of people. I get to know a lot of people, and the people that will buy it, that are buying a yacht and build an incredible company, or people that is buying a yacht will want to invest into successful companies. So it's just a continuation of my journey, and in a way diversifying also my interest and my market. And so I always been investing myself as angel investor. I backed companies that personally that did very well, from 8 Sleep, if you use a phenomenal mattress company, very early in the days, back in the days, alternative food protein, Beyond Meat, before it went public. Back in the days, the company was $200 million, and then the IPO for $12 billion. So I did a lot of angel investing. And like that, I created a good track record, and a lot of investors asked me to participate in a way with me. And I thought the best way possible would be to build a vehicle, a fund, which is called Mangusta Capital. Mangusta is also a known yacht builder, but Mangusta, I like the story of the Mangusta, which is the mongoose. Mongoose is an animal that is cannot be killed by venomous animals. So is one of the most resilient animal in nature. And yes, so we have a $75 million fund based in San Francisco. I have an operating partner that operates all the operations. I'm Kevin.
You're going to San Francisco
I'm
after
San Francisco Monday to see him, to see the office, and I think that again, it's about grab every opportunity that is around you. You're surrounded by great people. You sell great real estate to great people. What about if you go just a mile more than just selling them a real estate of a project? There's some other area of interest that you might be able to participate and be part of their journey. Because I admit my limits. That's another very important thing. So I'm not gonna build the next YouTube or the next Snapchat or the next OpenAI, but I can still be part of it. And that's where I come in, and as an investor or as a co-investor with my investors. So that's the philosophy.
And how do you split your time globally? Your headquarters in Monaco. You spend some time in Miami. What other markets are you jet setting around to?
That's a good way to put it. I love my base in Monaco. South of France is just incredible. And as I grew older, but I wouldn't say older, more mature, I appreciate the quiet and the peace and the nature of not being in a big town. So I like my South of France lifestyle a lot. And I do travel a lot because I like to be involved in events, in conferences. So, I spend a lot of time in the US. I'd love to come for holiday here in Miami. I think it's one of the best, most fascinating place, and it's not just coming for holiday. That was a misconception, I think, of 10 years ago, or at least before COVID, that Miami was a place where you go for holiday. You meet a lot of interesting people. It's an incredible place where to just enjoy your time, being on holiday, but just, meet incredible people. No place like Miami is around the world like right now. So I think that's my favorite destination of the moment, at least for the past 5 years. And yes, I have a place in New York, so my wife and I spend sometimes in New York. We do spend sometimes in London.
Yeah.
We do travel, and then we explore.
Yeah.
Like I like to do. I like to the hybrid of traveling for leisure, but at the same time to do something useful career-wise, so network and meet clients. So we spend a lot of time in St. Bart.
Yeah. Travel with purpose.
Travel with purpose. So
Yeah.
a lot of time in St. Bart. That's a great app for us. The Formula One events of the situations, and then sometimes I just switch off. I just decide to switch off.
Yeah.
And my wife and I, when we first met, the first ever trip we took together, we hiked in Himalayas. So
Wow.
for 7 days,
Yeah.
switch off the phone, just went for a journey, internal and external journey of yourself and within yourself, and that's where we really bonded, and that's where we fall in love. But again, this is to symbolize that when you want to just spin off and just clear it, you might want to not travel for purpose, but just travel for yourself.
Right. And you're hitting a big milestone. You have a birthday coming up in a couple weeks. You're turning 40, and we were talking about before the show. You feel better than ever. I'm turning 41 next week. Feel great. What advice? You've been working for 20 years now, entrepreneur, built successful businesses. What advice do you have for those listening? What it takes in 2026 and beyond? Where do you think people need to focus, and how should they think about building their careers?
Yeah, so thanks for saying my age.
You look great.
No, but listen, I wear my 40s very proudly. I
Yeah.
think that, and I was having this conversation literally last week with my business partner, which I built Royal Yacht International with, which he just turned 40 as well. And I say, I never felt so good in my life, physically and mentally.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's meant to be, or if we did something right. But first of all, we enjoyed every single part of the process. We started very young. We didn't have any money back then. We didn't make any money for many years, and still we did it. But we just had fun.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. If you do business with someone like a friend of yours, this partner of mine is my best friend for life. We just had fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if the results were not there in terms of big money or big rewards, but we just had fun. So we enjoyed the beginning as we're enjoying now, which we kind of made where we way more than where we thought we will be. But the way you operate has to be fun. Has to be entertaining. You need to like what you do, and you need just enjoy. So doing things that are stressful, but that in a pleasant way. Yeah, you're gonna be extra tired. Yes, you're gonna sacrifice a lot of your personal time that you're not giving to personal relationships. You're gonna prioritize a dinner with a client rather than a dinner with a friend. But ultimately, you need to make sure that you learn how to time manage.
Yeah.
Because you can do 10 dinner with clients and then you need to reset and get a dinner for yourself. You need to prioritize yourself, your mental and physical health, sport.
Yeah.
Fundamental. I don't know what I would be if I didn't have sport. I do every day a workout, which could be a cardio session, a run, paddle tennis, which everybody plays. It's very easy to play with because also very, very useful for networking and etc. But big gym sessions, or whichever that is, a walk, the VO2 max section. If you work on your longevity and you're careful, it's really is not that big of an effort, but you see the results. I'm at my 40, I feel much better than my 30.
Yeah.
Physically, I sleep better, I think better, I just I perform better in sports. How
about alcohol?
Yeah, listen, alcohol. I limit my alcohol a lot. Yeah, I think everybody's does.
Yeah, that's it's a trend.
Yeah.
Would you say that maybe you consumed more alcohol in your early 30s than today?
In my 20s,
in your 20s,
I did a lot of
Yeah.
alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
Listen, I think that also you have way more physical resistance to that. I think that, again, if I will probably consume the same amount of alcohol to at my age, I will not be able to operate. I think alcohol is poisons at the end of
Yeah,
the day.
yeah.
I'm Italian. I love my wine.
Yeah.
When I have a good meal, I want to have a good bottle of wine. That's a reward. That's something you look forward to. It cannot be every day. It cannot be an excess. So I think that if you're aware, the awareness piece, it's very important. Is what will really change, I think, today compared to 2 decades ago, a decade ago. You're much more aware that if you have 5 tequila drinks, you're not going to be as performative tomorrow. And if you don't sleep well, you're not going to be performing well. Right. And again, I didn't know that sleep was such an important component when I was in my 20s. I didn't know. No. I thought. At the contrary, I thought, why to sleep? I have all my life. If I don't sleep, I'm gonna live much longer because I'm awake more hours. That's such a BS.
It's backwards,
nobody told you that you need to sleep well to be way more sharper, way more efficient,
recover better,
much better. And again, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. to work out. Instead, I did. Today I sleep maybe 2 more hours, but those 2 hours are essential for your neurological performance. So awareness is what really came to help in the past decades, and I think that's the results of a good performances and good results. Also, I check my biomarkers. I'm a lot of health conscious. I invested in a company that does actually biomarker tracking. And all of that, which is very effective, is Tony Robbins' company, LifeForce.
Okay.
I'm a very, very exceptional company. We're very happy with it, and I'm a client of the company as well.
Yeah.
So every time that I come to US, I do my blood work. They check my biomarkers. They check all the performances, and it's excellent. Yeah.
Tommy, all the way from Monaco to Miami, what's the best place? Where can people connect with you, find you, email you, write you?
I mean, they can contact our Miami operation, and they, anytime that I'm here, they know that I'm here. That we can get meetings together.
Royal Yacht International.
Royal Yacht International in Miami with JC.
Yeah.
So my people are here. They manage fantastic work, and every time I'm in town, I catch up with them, and I love to meet anybody that has interest in this industry.
Awesome, Tommy. Thanks for being on. Yeah.